Good evening. It's 5:29 p.m. here in Maryland. That's Eastern Standard Time. Once again, I'm Saul Baggy. I promised on Saturday that I was canceling the program, but I would make a quick video to give followers and family members who have children in the same situation or category as we do. I have two daughters that are in high school, one in 12th, the other in 11th grade. Even if you have a child that is in the lower grades, that's okay. Just some information that I wanted to share. First, about the education front. The first thing that is happening in our school district in Virginia is the Virginia Department of Education has come up with an assessment program. They've never done that before. We typically, during the fall, would do SOL assessments. And in Michigan, we used to do the same thing, the NWEA and all of these other assessments. Here in Maryland, they'll do the MCAPs and other assessments just to see how the students fared during the summer and to get an outline of their level of performance. That data would help the school evaluate children and find out what students need more help. And they use tiers like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. And all these tiers would be categorized about. The tier 3 are the students who really need help, that they must have extra support. And the tier 2 students are the students who are mostly independent. They can get to tier 1 with little support, but not completely giving them more. Sorry about that. The tier 1 students are the ones who typically would be those students that are independent, that are functioning at a level that is acceptable by school standards. Matter of fact, some of these students are given extra challenges. For instance, if a student is is in 4th grade and they're performing at 5th grade level, they'll transition these kids to put them in like math, if they're performing at a higher level, to be in 6th grade math or advanced math. That's what we call it. And then they'll challenge, because if kids are not challenged, they get bored and they get in trouble because they're not being challenged. So these are all things that schools and administrations, districts balance out to make sure that we're providing the support to the children that need it the most, which is the tier 3. And then the tier 2s and tier 1s get the other support that they need. At the end of the year, the plan and the intention is to move those kids that are in tier 3 to a tier 2, or most possibly, if successful, to a tier 1. And these are all things that happen. And it all begins with how we lecture the kids, the support we provide. The federal government this year has provided funding for interventionists to be able to support children. In Virginia, they've added a 2-year program. Hopefully they'll expand it and make it more permanent. But the interventionists are funded from the federal government because of what happened in COVID-19. So the issue is COVID-19's impact on the children has made the Virginia Department of Education to change the program that I just mentioned to what they will call now a CAT program. It is like a computer adaptive test. That's what they call it, CAT. And what the plan is they're testing the kids who are in 4th grade, 5th grade this year, because we have 5th grade and 6th graders. This is an intermediate school. And it will happen with the other grades, lower grades. They're testing them at the level of the year before, because we didn't have any lectures, so to speak, in-person learning. We taught the kids, but it's an opportunity for the schools and the districts and the state to be able to see what level these kids have attained in terms of information and their level of education, and that will help us. So these test assessments are given for the year 2020, and then next year they'll bump to the year 2021. I think that's what the plan is. But it's allowing them to be able to look at assessments and the level of kids the year before. So this is something new. But it's a very smart idea, because the intention, it was intentional. Kids didn't have to go to school, we didn't have to force the families and all of that stuff. But there was this plan that just came up. So now once the tests are done, math and reading, I'll be able to look at those tests and evaluate what level these kids are so we can prepare them for the year ahead and be able to lecture them accordingly and give them the support, like I said, the interventionist, all the other support that is being funded by the federal and state government to make sure kids succeed. Tier 3 is the most challenging of all tiers. In Michigan, you would probably call that the 30%, which the states always emphasize. No matter how good a school does in terms of academics, both nationally and maybe locally, being at one of the top levels, the state government and local law enforcement or local lawmakers are looking at the lower 30% numbers. Those are the numbers that they push to make sure schools can bump them. They don't want to see the success. Yes, they like that. But what is the bottom line? The numbers that are on the bottom 30%ers are those numbers that they're concerned. And they would fall in the category of a tier 3. And mostly those students are the low income, ELA students, families that speak a second language, and kids with physical challenges or other challenges that underline. So that is why funding is always available for the IEP kids, you would call it. So in a nutshell, that's what we're doing. In Maryland too, they're going to be doing the what they call the Maryland Comprehensive Assessment Program. That program has been the same, but it sounds, from my understanding, they're going to do something similar to what we're doing in Virginia. And this is where communication comes in between states and local governments, understanding what trends are happening in other states so that they can take there and start to apply it. My hope and prayer is for Gambia to start looking at these things and apply these programs. But we're not doing that. So that's the education front. The other part is the application for kids to get ready to go to school. I am grateful. Like I said, this is not something that falls from the sky. Nit ku daal doomi Adama faw nga def sa mun bisa kéemtalaay kattan nga bàyyi lépp si loxo yàlla. Doo toog rek téye sa loxo ne yaa ngi yaakaar yàlla ñëw du ñëw. So my daughters have been accepted into the National Honor Society, or they've been offered letters to apply. And if they apply based on the criteria and their level of achievement this past year, they would probably, hopefully, be accepted. And if they get accepted, that opens up an avenue of all kinds of opportunities for them to be offered scholarships and admissions to other schools. And we're doing our thing. We're visiting colleges, we're communicating with colleges, we're writing, and the application process is ongoing. So last Wednesday, in my local school, we had these conferences or meetings that the school offers to talk to parents about what is happening. And I want you all who follow me and listen to our program to pay attention to these things. If your child is in 11th grade, yes, they can start preparing, taking MCAP, not necessarily MCAP, but SAT preps and tests. Not this year, but somewhere around the spring, maybe January, February, December, they can think about doing that. So for juniors, you can talk about August, September now. Check on high school graduation requirements. Okay, these are for juniors, not for seniors. Start creating a college list on the whatever list you want, and I have shared some of that information. Inshallah, on Saturday I'll probably share that in the next program. October, November, register for AP tests if your child is prepared and ready to challenge themselves. December, January, register for SATs, so you can take them in early fall, early spring, into the summer, like we've done. My daughter has taken it twice, and her numbers are going up. So we want to do a third one and see how she fares before we even start applying to schools. The one advice that I heard from the meeting is, do not give colleges your grades or your school scores unless you have decided that you want to consider the college or university as your next possible option. So you can have a safe university, you can have some university that you feel just safe university, where you know that if you apply today, you would be accepted. Then look at other universities that may have some things that are aligned with what you need, but you're not sure if you're going to be accepted, and others that are difficult, far-reach, but you're working towards achieving those admission requirements. So that's very important. SATs, like I said, the seniors, of course, August, September, which is the month that we are on, we're taking SATs. So the timeline is the importance of deadlines. Applying for your financial aid, very important. For Maryland here, the deadline is October the 1st. If you want to apply for financial aid, that's the deadline for financial aid, which is FAFSA. So these dates are very important for you to keep in mind. So that is where we are on the front. I am very grateful and thankful to Mam Yasin Sarr of Starfish International. The kids prepared a little birthday thing and sent it to me via Messenger. It was very emotional for me to watch Gambian students, Gambian kids, who I know, this is what I keep saying, if we provide our children the same or somewhere close to the level of investment and resources that are being provided for the children here in the United States or any other Western country, we will see progress and success. But if we don't do that, we will continue to be challenged, we will continue to struggle. That is what I see. Mam Yasin Sarr, Starfish International, is doing great. So I want to thank all of those people who have contributed in the raising funds, which went beyond the $300 that I wanted. I think last I checked it was $409. Kudos to all of you, the Umi Andrews of this world, everybody who has donated. Jerejef, thank you very much for donating, because you are changing the life of a child. As we speak, I have two students right now, one in Michigan State, the other one at the University of Michigan, in Michigan, the state of Michigan. These students have full scholarships, full ride scholarships. One of them in Michigan State, the parents are paying because they want the child to be on campus. But if they put the child out of campus or a little bit outside, it'll be living less expensive. But that's the only thing. They have to pay for their board, which is like $3,000 a year. And the father accepted to do that because Michigan State is expensive. This is what becomes the outcome of investing in the kids, creating that foundation. They came here, had no language skills. Today they've been accepted and they all start in their first full year as freshmen at these very, very reputable universities. It can be done. We need to invest in our children for tomorrow. Pivoting to the politics of the Gambia. The diaspora, it can now be concluded that we are not going to be able to vote. So the courts are playing the games. This is why I keep saying we should not give these courts and the three branches of government any kudos or props. They're careless, they're useless. That's my feeling. The courts, and I say to Hassan Diallo, you need to have a legacy that people can look up to and say he did exactly what he was expected to do, changing the country and making sure that there's equity. We don't have that right now. 2 million people, you don't want to tell me that you can have cases brought to the docket and it takes months for you to even hear these cases. What kind of country is this? People file the case about us voting. The lower court or the higher court declared the path that we, under the Constitution, should be able to vote for elections and be able to participate if we want it. So why are we having an issue? Because of Adama Barrow. We feel that the elections would be free and fair if you were to hold the elections today in a country where you have the diaspora demographic of over 70,000 people, larger than many districts or constituencies in that country. We put in more money into that country than any other district, $2 billion by the count that we looked between 2016 and today. But we still don't have the right to vote. And the courts feel that they can go about playing this game. You can make hearings and clear the issue of the mayor of Banjul, which is going to be a problem for us. I'm telling you now that this is potentially going to be a flashpoint. You cannot say that the mayor now doesn't have the right to give attestations to people who don't have birth certificates that need to be able to be given registration cards to vote in the elections. They're not necessarily citizens of Banjul, based on what I understand from the people who understand our electoral system. Some of these people may have come from provinces, but because they want to stay in Banjul and vote because they have businesses there, they want to be attested in Banjul. We're telling those people that your attestations are null and void and the citizens of Banjul because of some law. But if a family is not able to provide a birth certificate, we have these issues here in the United States. They should be given an avenue to be able to vote. And there is precedence. This is what I keep saying. If the courts were silenced, I don't care if Yaya Jammeh was the dictator or whatever, and the mayor of Banjul before and one before was able to give attestations, what changed is because she's a woman and she's a member of the UDP party, and because we want to impose upon the people of Banjul. That's the whole thing. The ruling that was done was a scam, was a sham. It was falsified. I don't agree with the ruling that the mayor doesn't have the right. The alcalos have the right to attest. The mayor should, because it is silence. The law does not say she can or she can't. And if she goes about doing it and the IEC says it's okay, the National Assembly members who were there, who made the laws, are okay with that, then why should the courts challenge that? That is the one front issue that I wanted to talk about. After SR file. SR file, Ahmadiyya, Ahmadiyya. These are things that don't make any sense. The Ahmadiyya have contributed more to that country than the Supreme Islamic Council has done. Man yëguma ban Ahmadiyya bu dem partner with Yaya Jammeh di rey nit ñi bi te ñuy bàyyi nit Yaya Jammeh di def lu ko neex. I haven't heard that. They have a hospital in Talinding, a huge hospital that is serving the community. They have a high school and maybe elementary schools that are serving your children and our children. Many people graduated from these schools. And you want to call the Ahmadiyya as somebody who believes in them is un-Islamic. But ban gum yàlla ngeen am, na ngay dégg ab kenn ku laaj question bi Dr. Lone, imaam yi Banjul bi dafa nekk di wax nit ñi ñuy wax Allahu Akbar suy khutba. If you don't know what to do during khutba, then you need to step aside. There's so many things that you can talk about besides nekk di yokk dara loo xam ne warta nekk si diine bi. Dr. Lo mu ne yonent bi musta def loolu sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Why is the imam doing that? Di wax nit ñi ñu wax Allahu Akbar. Yow yaa ngi war a khutba to tell people how to be able to live an Islamic life. And you're going out there making all of these statements. So man loolu laa mënta understand affaire Banjul ak Gambia. Ngeen bari foyentu dañ war a bàyyi foyentu bi. I said this was going to be 10 minutes, but I apologize because ma dooree di wax rek loolu la. But there are risks with these elections coming up. Adama Barrow's runaround means he is scared. So Adama Barrow amoon confidence in naming election du nekk di jël suñu xaalis di ko fayantu. All of these back and forth, zigzag, crisscrossing, coalition with the APRC, loolu rek moo fa nekk. We must not relent. Nañ continue di def lu ñoo def. The coalition talks that are happening now is a great idea. I would have loved for the coalition talks to have happened several months ago to put all of the parameters in place of how we vet people. We make sure that we have the best candidates to challenge this devilish activity by Adama Barrow and his APRC. But nonetheless, I support it. I think we have the best possible option now. If we come together, we can now talk to the country and tell them we're ready for change. And this is how we're going to do it this time around. One thing must be made clear. We must have the diaspora involved in this. The Chairman Jais, the Musa Jengs, Uncle Sidi Sanes, Tukulot Sis, Umi Andrews, every one of these people who have participated in the change, Hussein Umbenga, the people of Duga DC, we can't forget these people. They've sacrificed too much. Bankamane and all of these people, we must have a team that sits on the table as they decide what to do moving forward. And if we were to win, some of these people from the diaspora must represent our interests, whether they're going to be in the National Assembly or whatever. We shouldn't relent. And if you agree, we will fund it. So we need to be mindful of that. Suñ ko defee yàlla dinañu may ndam waaye suñ deful lu ñu war a def duñ am ndam yàlla du wàcce si jox ñu ndam faw ñu dugal si loolu si suñ boppay daal fu ñu sacrifice su ko defee ñu mën a am ndam yonente yi fi ñëw yëpp dañ soona balaa ñu am luñ bugga yàlla ñëwut ne leen here's the path clear now everything. No, we all know these things. So we're not better than them. Lan lañ naka lañ mën a toogee xalaat ne yàlla dinañu dimbale when he gave the support to those people who he picked as the best to represent us. But they had to go through difficult times. to get to where they had to get. So buñ faate loolu nañ make sure ne ñu toppa loolu problème yi ñu am Gambia dafa bari jigéen ñi ñuy jéena they call them the Gambia Women's Life Matters because 200 women have died so far from just pregnancy and trying to give birth loolu musta am Gambia ndax Yaya Jammeh bu mu fa nekkee mus nañu dégg 200 jigéen ñu dee ñoo xam ne dañoo dem ci wasin si lopitaan bi Jawara musoon naa am loolu 90 children dying as a result of these problems that are happening during delivery parce que loolu nekkee di am tey kon Gambia dafa dellu gannaaw loolu mooy problème bi you look at all of the things that are happening the UTG university bi dara nekkul di dox foofu Gambia Transportation Union ñu ngeen nekk di wax seen bébét nekkuñ ci toppatoo trafic bi mu ngi jaam si réew moo xam ne 2 million people la fa nekk loolu meekul benn sense so dañ need change because suñ ko defut Adama Barrow su winee APRC ñooy form government they may possibly have the National Assembly elections win it dañ jël suñu ëllëg not take risk for it's too risky pour ñu war a nangu loolu Adama Barrow jël ko gay nañ form suñ coalition confront Adama Barrow ñu seet ndax réewi Gambie bugg nañoo dem ak koo xam ne maa ngi jégal suma network bi mu ngi nekk di dem koo xam ne waxoon na leen ne lii laay def mu jaljati loolu mooy nit kuy njuujaat dafa wax ni tey lii laay def ëllëg mu def leneen war ngeen a óolu kooku ñetti yëf mu ngi ko def mu ngi leen promise jël seen xaalis millions yu bari dugal ko fa jaane commission di draft constitution TRRC bi fi moo jublu ñun ñëpp xam nañ ko dañoo jël yëpp sànni ko si xaalis bu bari boo xam ne réew mi amu ko mënoon nañu dugal loolu si xale yi jàng seen jànga hospital yaa ngi nii lopitaani Banjul yéen ñëpp a ngi gis loolu so ci gàttal daal donte wax bi yàgg na lu ñoo wax mooy ne daal there is a geopolitical issue happening in West Africa ECOWAS yi their leadership they have this elitist behavior nangu ñoo def lu ñu war a def suñ ko defoon ni kon problème bi am Mali problème bi am Guinée Conakry ak problème yi ñëw bàyyi leen seen xel si loolu de man miy wax ak yéen my experience is this laata Yaya Jammeh di coup d'état 1994 Sarata Jawara for 3 years si loolu lañ nekkoon Keba Cissé ak Pajol duñ nelaw these are very experienced people suspectoon nañ ne li nekk di xew Sierra Leone ak yeneen countries yi ak Liberia mun naa xew suñu réew balaa ñëw wax 3 years Yaya Jammeh ñëw overthrow Jawara jénee ko fa so the fear must be there we must be concerned luy happen léegi mooy ne Adama Barrow moo waxoon 3 years léegi mu ne 5 years léegi mu ne bëggut 5 years sax bëggut 10 years dafa bëgg 15 years loolu nañ ko bàyyi xel suñ ko bàyyit xel problème bii ñëw suñ réew moomu noonu ñun ñëpp ñoo ko dundee nañ jóg daga suñ digga am coalition bu baax confront this threat which is bi xale yi jigéen yi dee musta xew suñ réew nu moo nekkee demee nii loolu ku ko dégg rek ku ko gis war na laa naxar so ngan katoke nga ñim bondi jee Adama Barrow man taram moo la dooku kee kam faa faw na nafa ala